Today we celebrate Nia, or purpose, the fifth day of Kwanzaa. Nia means making our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Nia reminds us that Black lineage has provided a solid foundation for future generations. Likewise, sunflowers are known for their sturdy resilience and longevity. We invite you to listen to the story of resilience and power with storyteller Carl Shelton. Think about the power of the sunflower as you reflect on your family, your ancestors, determined, strong, defiant with music in their ears. Nia reminds us that our Black is beautiful.
There were hundreds of sunflowers everywhere, as far as the eyes could see. They seemed to reach as far as the horizon. The sunflowers welcomed the families that settled the land with what could be described as music or a song. It calmed the animals, soothed the children, and encouraged the adults as they cleared small areas of the land. The settlers dismissed the notion that the sunflowers were making music or singing. It was just the wind blowing through them. The Adler family was one of the first to move to the land. The family thought how beautiful the sunflowers were. They built a small 2-room cabin and cleared an acre of land to farm. Gradually, the Adler family rebuilt the cabin many times over. After 4 generations, the Adler small cabin became a grand mansion with magnificent columns, beautiful flower gardens, hundreds of acres of farmland, and at one time, hundreds of enslaved people worked in their fields, and still the sounds of the sunflowers could be heard, although their numbers were diminished. Now the sunflowers had become a nuisance to the Adler family as their need for more land increased. Try as they might, over the many years, the Adlers could not permanently get rid of all the sunflowers. They cut them down, they dug them up, they burned the ground where they grew, and they even poisoned the soil. But no matter what they did, the sunflowers kept reappearing. Everyone knew why the sunflowers kept reappearing. They were part of the land. They had a spiritual bond that could not be broken. By the turn of the 20th century, George Adler, the current owner, refused to believe that the sunflowers had some kind of magic or a purpose or could make music. The sunflowers were not human. They were mere plants, and they had no special powers. They were not the protectors of the land, the forest, or even the once enslaved people who worked the land. Bitterly, George Adler dismissed the sunflower myths as nonsense. They're just flowers, nothing more, just flowers. His anger showed when folks said something about the sunflowers that grew on his land. Now, it was different with the Black folks that lived on the land and worked in the area. Generation after generation of Black folks knew what the sunflowers stood for. Stories spread throughout the Black community about the power of the sunflower. It was said in the days of enslavement that every enslaved person could clearly hear their song and their music. There were some who spoke in whispers to the sunflowers and gained wisdom and knowledge for them. They knew why the sunflowers were there and would always be there. In the days, the sunflowers hid runaways. The sunflowers would literally cover the runaways with their leaves and even move closer together to conceal them. Their leaves gave off a pungent odor so the dogs could not smell them. The black folks learned to cook their leaves. They dried out their seeds to eat and squeezed oil for medicinal purposes. When the stalks were dried out, they used them for firewood. But most importantly, the sunflowers ooze with sheer determination to maintain and strengthen families and communities. No matter how many times the sunflowers were destroyed, they returned, standing tall, in defiance. Their music and their song continued. So it was with the many generations of black folks. No matter how horrific their lives were, they held on to their purpose, stood tall and straight. Just like the sunflowers, they never gave up their music, and they turned their faces to the sun for a better life, for family and community. Soul of the sunflowers.